So, shooting off the cuff kind of vlog this week, because this video is going to come up the day before Christmas. In fact, specifically, it is going to go up on Christmas Eve. And for like my next few videos I wanted to do that are scripted, I want to have some time to actually plot them out. So with that in mind, let's look back at the past year real quick. This is not going to be the formal year in review for anime and that sort of thing. That's going to be a scripted thing, and I'm going to save that for the actual, January. With that in mind, a few things this year that I'm happy about, and things that can stand to improve. Thing I'm happy about. I am very happy that we have a new anime streaming site out. We have Ocean Vale. Yes, they don't have an app yet. Yes, their big thing is not safe for work smut, but honestly, it's good to have a spot for that too. Like a legal option for that. Part of the reason that I've been happy about, like when Faku went legit is because it's good for people to be financially compensated for their work. It is good for creators of Arrow manga to be compensated for what they put out. Having options for available digital distribution of those materials, both through like a on-demand service like Faku, or a just a purchase service like with actually pull up the name of the site in just a moment. I feel kind of silly about that. Like Irodori is good. It's good to have that. It is nice to have that option available. It is nice that there is a legitimate mechanism for artists to be compensated for their work. Thing I'm not so happy about, speaking of artists being compensated for their work, this is the year that we had like the credit card companies causing problems for people who do not safe for work stuff really came home for roost in a way that it hadn't with the pressure on OnlyFans, because with OnlyFans, that they backpedaled. Similar with other payment processors. Now with the collective shout thing and how that panned out for Steam, for itch.io in particular, it became clear that yes, Steam is the biggest name in the video games PC ecosystem. They are bringing enough money that Gaben can buy multiple yachts, but they're still not bigger than Visa, MasterCard, and for that matter, Stripe. Oh, though Stripe also works through Visa and MasterCard. You get where I'm coming from. And if Visa and MasterCard and Stripe are pressured enough, or the people running those companies are bigoted enough about queer LGBT speech, they can be pressured into silence. And that sucks. And thus over the past year, we've had the pushback campaign, which we're putting the pressure up, keeping the pressure up. People are still making calls and still reaching out to their legislators, but we are still in a bit of an impasse, and that is distressing. It is distressing and unfortunate. It means that these companies can silence anybody. And yes, they're doing like the pressure of the case is over pornography, but like if the writing on the wall wasn't, as far as for what their intents wasn't clear when with the Steam takedown, what happened with Itch and the fact that basically massive numbers of LGBTQ works were impacted in the process makes it that the target of the people who are trying to silence these voices under the auspices of silencing inappropriate or explicit or obscene sex work depictions of sex and sexuality is they want to silence LGBT people. They don't want LGBTQ people expressing their viewpoints and how, like, depicting sexual orientation, depicting those sexual identities. One of the things I remember the first time the Banned Book Month came around, and I read through the pamphlet, and one of the things that came up in there, particularly after the children's book Heather Has Two Mommies came out, was that book, the children's book, depicts nothing sexual in it whatsoever at all. It just depicts the concept of a lesbian couple as being normal parents, just like a heterosexual couple. That got referred to repeatedly from conservative media as pornography. So look, all art is speech, all art is political, and I discuss art on this channel. And when conservative political voices say they're out to regulate and ban pornography, look at what they've called pornography in the past. This actually relates to some of the issues that I would say that Ocean Vale faces in their level for success, because what's Crunchyroll and what High Dive and what Retro Crush have for their that help them get out there for people to watch them in ways that are convenient to them, is they have apps. They have apps on your Google TV box. They have apps on your Roku. They have apps on your Android box. They have an Android channel. They have stuff on your televisions, all of it. And that the fact that Ocean Vale, part of their kickoff is that they are covering that level of and streaming that level of smut, including gay smut, and more power to them for bringing that to the US and making that available legally, does mean that to a certain degree, as things currently stand, those avenues are closed to them. If you want to watch them on your television, you have to either hook up your computer to your television, or you need to be using Chrome and cast that browser window to that screen, or browser tab to that screen. And it's unfortunate that it has to be that way. Speaking of Crunchyroll, another thing where there's room for improvement in the year to come is how Crunchyroll has been handling their subtitles. I've talked about this a bit in the past on social media, on the podcast. It has been somewhat confirmed that Crunchyroll has been working to transition to using the subtitling app Una, with 3 O's, for doing their subtitle generation. Their ostensible reason for doing this is that they want to be able to sub-license anime to other services, to Netflix, to Hulu, to Amazon Prime, what have you. And that the Aegis subtitling software, they've been using in the past, which is free and open source software, as opposed to having to pay for a Una license, it's not compatible. The output doesn't compatible. You have to redo everything in terms of the fan sub level subtitling to make it work on these other platforms. Here's the thing, though. The subtitling standards that you see used on these other services are basically fundamentally based on a lot of the similar principles that are used for, or the standards that are used for DVD authoring, for Blu-ray authoring, and for that sort of standard material, for what works on a DVD or Blu-ray disc. And those are generally based around what works for conveying subtitled dialogue for the hearing impaired, and that sort of thing. I bring this up because, as we have seen in time, is that the old, and discussions about accessibility for video games as well, is a lot of the older methods that are used for conveying information, for people with disabilities or hearing impaired for visual mediums, is not necessarily conductive or ideally what works best for those people. Having text emphasis works to help emphasize what stresses in the voice. If you can't have somebody on screen doing sign language and using their expressiveness of their sign language to convey that emotional context as well. Additionally, oftentimes in foreign language works, on-screen text, not just in terms of like on-screen text captions, but also subtitling and text in the environment, like a letter that somebody is reading, but not necessarily captioned or read out loud, signs on doors, that sort of thing. Stuff that to the native language speaker, they'd be able to pick up, or native language reader would be able to pick up right away, is not necessarily carried over well when done in subtitles. Even the Criterion Collection, and with their releases on DVD and VHS and such in the past, has been clunky about how they execute it. On-screen text is often depicted as just a line in all caps, which works if it's like a sign and you're trying to establish what a building is. But if somebody's reading a letter and the contents of the letter aren't allowed on screen, or aren't read aloud on screen at that time, but the text is visible, and it's necessary and it's significant for the audience to be able to read that, that doesn't play as well. The subtitling methods that have been used by fansubbers and that Aegis Sub supports work well for that. This is an instance where the old classic from the tricks of the fansubbers techniques that were used in the past through the Aegis Sub software, in a way, should have been ahead of their time. What we should have been seeing, maybe not necessarily the line changing color, the line of text changing color karaoke subtitle text, but like for other works, this is something that should have been being picked up for foreign language, like as streaming shifted, or as these streaming services built up. This is something that other services should have been picking up for handling foreign language works. Even things like the Criterion Collection, not necessarily going at the same level of flash or stylistic conceits that is used for anime, but still having it where text that is on screen has the subtitles translating it next to the text, rather than dropping a box on dropping all caps text on the bottom of the screen adjacent to dialogue, or color coding and location placing dialogue for characters that are talking over each other in scenes in films where characters are talking over each other a lot, whether it's an anime or whether it is a German language film, or what have you. Like being able to like have that different representations for who is speaking and saying what line of dialogue is important, and helping and making it easier for the audience to keep track of that. Again, this case where the fansubbers were actually, in my opinion, were ahead of their time for how to convey this, for figuring out a visual language for how to convey this information, and creating tools to make it easier to pass this along to viewers of material in other languages. But instead, Crunchyroll is stepping away from Una. So our next step there is be like, voice our displeasure to Crunchyroll. We're not at a point where I feel like I should cancel my Crunchyroll subscription yet. Like if we hit a point where like everything that goes up on Crunchyroll is going on other platforms as well, then at which point that is the point where I'm like, okay, then why bother subscribing to Crunchyroll if it was a case where, may I ask for one final thing is going up on Crunchyroll and on Hulu, but Crunchyroll has the nicer subtitles and Hulu doesn't. I will keep my Crunchyroll subscription and stay there. If the versions on both platforms are functionally identical, which is something that we had happen, or in some cases where there's actually technically the version of Hero Academia on Hulu came out first, kept the subtitles intact, and was more watchable out of the gate, why subscribe to Crunchyroll at all if they're going to keep dropping the ball like this? So we'll see how things go there. On a different positive side, though, I have reached the first year of running a role-playing game campaign. I have played for decades. I have dabbled in game mastering off and on over the years for friends and family, one-off session here and there, short couple session long campaign there, and finally running a D&D game for a year, still ongoing, has been a wonderful experience. I've been really enjoyed being able to do that, and like, I'm not going to say I'm going to volunteer to be a forever GM now, but this now, like, having a group, and hopefully once this campaign is done, everyone's happy enough that I can say, hey, want to try Shadowrun? If not using Shadowrun itself, then maybe using the Shadowrun setting through the Cities Without Number system, or Cyberpunk 2070, the Cyberpunk Red system, or Traveler, or any other number of systems that I have, Call of Cthulhu, whatever. Having that option on the table is like wonderful, and a group of players who trust me as a game master would be a wonderful thing to do, and I look forward to hopefully having that chance. Additionally, KamuraCon has still been great. Our local anime convention here in Portland has consistently knocked it out of the park, and I look forward to that in the future. I've even heard people saying, and this is going to be controversial in the comments, there in some respects KamuraCon is better than SakuraCon in terms of the Pacific Northwest conventions. I have not been to SakuraCon, so I cannot speak firsthand to this. If so, that is kind of awesome. And so, other thing that I'm happy with is, like, I'm not, like, probably not gonna make it all the way through my video game New Year's resolutions by the end of the year, knock on wood. But I think it's likely that I'll pull it off. And if I don't, I'm pretty close to the end for a couple of the games that I'm covering. So I'm pleased that this is going well. I'm glad that my streaming is working out, that my splitting my channel into two different, going from having everything on one primary channel, this one, to this channel and my Count Zero Plays YouTube channel, that appears to have worked out well, and that appears to be building up its own audience alongside of its own, which is good. I like that the people who enjoy the Let's Play content, maybe who don't do the video essays, aren't fine, but also the podcast is, and everything else on this channel is doing well as well. So, getting a more basic video out of the, like, vlog video out of the way, I hope that you, and again, last week was my my little holiday greeting. This is, I guess, my holiday letter. And I hope that, once again, that you and yours have had a safe and happy year. And I hope the year to come for you goes very well. And that it is a joyous year for you and those you care about in all your endeavors. And thank you very much for watching, and here's to another year. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe, and also consider backing my Patreon. Patreon backers get episodes up to 1 week early of this show and any future Let's Plays. Also, please consider backing my Ko-fi. Tossing me a few bucks also helps support the show, and it's not a monthly obligation or anything like that.